Today, we're journeying to the heart of Europe, to a land of rolling hills, dense forests, and more castles per capita than almost anywhere else on Earth. We're talking about Slovakia. Ever wondered why this relatively small country is absolutely packed with over 100 castles and nearly 400 chateaux? It's a story of geography, conflict, and ambition. So grab your virtual passport and let's explore why Slovakia is a true kingdom of castles. To understand the sheer number of castles, we have to rewind the clock. Way back. For centuries, the territory of modern-day Slovakia was a crucial part of the Kingdom of Hungary. And if you look at a map, you'll see why it was so important. Slovakia is nestled right against the Carpathian Mountains, forming a natural northern border for the Hungarian plains. This strategic location was both a blessing and a curse. It was a defensive barrier, but it also needed to be fortified. So, the first major reason for all these castles is defense. From the 11th century onwards, Hungarian kings started building a network of stone fortresses along this northern frontier. These weren't just random constructions, they were strategically placed to guard important trade routes, mountain passes, and river crossings. Think of them as the medieval equivalent of a high-tech border security system. Castles like Tiaran Castle, perched dramatically on a rock above the Vich River, were built to control the flow of people and goods, and to serve as administrative centers for the surrounding region. But it wasn't just about guarding against northern invaders. The 13th century brought a new, terrifying threat from the east. The Mongol invasions. In 1241, the Mongol army swept through the Kingdom of Hungary, leaving devastation in its wake. The existing earth and wood fortifications were no match for their siege tactics. After the Mongols retreated, King Bela IV realized he needed to seriously upgrade his kingdom's defenses. He launched a massive castle-building program and even encouraged noble families and towns to build their own stone castles by granting them land and privileges. This led to a huge boom in construction. Many of Slovakia's most iconic castles, or at least their stone foundations, date back to this post-Mongol period. It was a kingdom-wide effort to ensure they would never be so vulnerable again. Another key piece of the puzzle is mining. Medieval Slovakia was incredibly rich in natural resources, especially precious metals like gold, silver, and copper. Towns like Banska, Tiavnica, and Kremnica were some of the most important mining centers in all of Europe. Where there's wealth, there's a need for protection. The vast fortunes being extracted from the mountains needed to be guarded from bandits and rival lords. So, powerful castles were built to protect the mines, the towns, and the transportation routes that carried this wealth. The castle in Kremnica, for example, directly overlooked the town that housed the royal mint, which produced coins for the entire kingdom. These mining castles were essentially medieval Fort Knoxes, ensuring the king's treasury stayed full. As we move into the later Middle Ages, the political landscape within the Kingdom of Hungary became more complex. Powerful aristocratic families, often called oligarchs, began to rise. These nobles controlled vast territories and often challenged the authority of the king himself. To solidify their power and defend their lands from rivals, they built and expanded their own private castles. These fortresses became symbols of their status and military might. The legendary Matuke of Tiran, known as the Lord of the VH and the Tatras, controlled a huge part of what is now Slovakia from his impregnable Tiaran Castle. He and other powerful nobles turned the region into a patchwork of fortified domains, each centered around a formidable castle. Then came another wave of conflict that spurred even more castle construction and reinforcement. The Ottoman invasions. Starting in the 16th century, the Ottoman Empire began its push into Central Europe. After the disastrous Battle of Mohacs in 1526, a large part of Hungary fell under Ottoman control. The territory of Slovakia suddenly became the new front line, the main battleground between the Habsburgs, who now ruled the kingdom, and the Ottomans. Existing castles were massively refortified with new Renaissance-style defenses, like bastions and cannon platforms to withstand gunpowder artillery. New fortresses, like the star-shaped fortress in Kamerno, were built specifically to halt the Ottoman advance. For nearly 150 years, this region was a war zone, and castles were the absolute key to survival. Even after the Ottoman threat receded in the late 17th century, the castles continued to play a role. The 17th and early 18th centuries were marked by a series of anti-Habsburg uprisings led by Hungarian nobles. Once again, Slovakia's castles became the strongholds for the rebels. Figures like Francis II, Ricachi used these fortresses as bases for their campaigns against the imperial armies. However, once these uprisings were suppressed, the Habsburgs had had enough. They saw the castles as a source of constant rebellion. To prevent future trouble, they ordered many of them to be destroyed or deliberately left to fall into ruin. This is why so many of Slovakia's castles today are romantic, crumbling ruins rather than perfectly preserved structures. Spiš Castle, one of the largest castle complexes in Europe, met a similar fate, eventually being abandoned and later damaged by a fire. So, what happened to the castles that survived? As warfare changed and the era of aristocratic rebellion ended, the need for grim, cold stone fortresses declined. The nobility's lifestyle was changing. They craved comfort, luxury, and elegance. Many families either abandoned their old, impractical castles for more comfortable manor houses, or they undertook massive renovations, transforming parts of their fortresses into lavish Renaissance or Baroque residences. Orava Castle is a perfect example of this. It's a stunning mix of different architectural styles, showing how it evolved from a medieval stronghold into a more aristocratic home over the centuries. These transformed castles and newly built chateaux added yet another layer to Slovakia's rich architectural landscape. So, there you have it. The incredible density of castles in Slovakia isn't down to one single reason. It's a rich tapestry woven from threads of strategic geography, the terrifying Mongol invasions, immense mineral wealth, the ambitions of powerful nobles, centuries of war with the Ottoman Empire, and finally, the subsequent eras of rebellion and peace. Each ruin on a hilltop and every grand chateau in a valley tells a piece of this epic story. They are stone chronicles of a nation forged in conflict and rich in history. That's why a trip to Slovakia feels like stepping into a real-life fairy tale, where every corner you turn might reveal another magnificent castle. What's your favorite castle in Slovakia, or which one would you love to visit most? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more adventures into the stories behind the scenery. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.